Here's what nobody tells you about the Piston Cup. Every race protocol in the first Cars movie was cross-checked by a Pixar research team that spent 9 months embedded with NASCAR crews at Charlotte, Daytona, and Sonoma. 9 months. For a movie about talking cars, they didn't waste a second of it. The opening race, the Motor Speedway of the South, runs exactly 500 laps. That number isn't random. It maps directly onto the Coca-Cola 600 and the Daytona 500 formula NASCAR uses to define its crown jewel events. When the announcer screams that it's the final lap of the season and 3 cars are tied for the Piston Cup, that tiebreaker scenario isn't fantasy. It's pulled from the actual NASCAR point structure as it existed in 2005, the year Pixar locked the script. A children's movie about a rookie race car got the tiebreaker math right. Now watch the pit stop. When McQueen refuses tires and blows through his crew, the camera holds on a small yellow line painted across pit road. That line is real. It marks the pit road speed limit boundary, and in NASCAR, crossing it too fast earns a pass-through penalty costing roughly 15 seconds. When McQueen skids past his stall, the announcer specifically says he'll have to circle back. That's not a made-up consequence. That's the exact penalty a real driver would get. Rule 1, hiding in plain sight. Rule 2 shows up during the 3-way tiebreaker announcement. The Piston Cup runs a season-long point system, where finishing positions accumulate across every race. The King, Chick Hicks, and Lightning are tied because their results across the year add up to identical totals. NASCAR's Winston Cup, later the Nextel Cup, worked on the same principle from 1975 through 2003. Pixar didn't invent a system, they copied one and filed the serial numbers off. What most fans miss is the rule about championship deciding races. NASCAR allowed a 1-race tiebreaker playoff only under specific historical conditions, and the Los Angeles International Speedway finale mirrors that setup almost exactly. Same crowd size range, same broadcast structure, same 3-camera aerial coverage Pixar animated frame by frame from real ESPN footage. Here's the third rule, and it reframes the ending entirely. When McQueen stops before the finish line to push the King across, most viewers read it as a purely emotional choice. It's not only that. Under Piston Cup rules, as under NASCAR rules, a driver doesn't have to cross first to earn championship points. Finishing second still awards significant points. McQueen sacrificing the win cost him the race trophy, but the season points he'd already built up by finishing in the top group all year meant the championship was decided by cumulative standings, not by that single crossing. That's why Chick Hicks wins the Piston Cup trophy at the ceremony. He crossed first. Under the rulebook Pixar was quietly following, crossing first in the final race is what earned him the cup. It's not a plot hole, it's a rule. Here's the uncomfortable part. The real villain of Cars isn't Chick Hicks. It's a rulebook that hands the trophy to the driver who wrecked his rival in the same race he supposedly won. Pixar animated the rule working exactly as designed. That's the problem. Rule 4 is the pit crew regulation. When McQueen fires his entire pit crew before the tiebreaker and recruits Guido, Luigi, Sarge, Fillmore, and the Radiator Springs gang, that's not just a bit. NASCAR pit crew rules require a specific number of over-the-wall crew members, historically 5 to 7, each with defined roles: jack, tire carrier, tire changer, gas man, catch can. Count the Radiator Springs crew in that final race: 5 specialists, Guido on tires, Sarge on fuel. The roles map 1 to 1. You might wonder why Doc Hudson can serve as crew chief mid-season without prior credentials. Under NASCAR rules, a crew chief change requires only team approval and a license verification, both of which a former Hudson Hornet Piston Cup winner would clear immediately. Doc's 3 championship trophies aren't decoration, they're his qualification. The obvious question is why nobody talks about this. Pixar buried it. The research was never marketing, it was atmosphere. Rule 5 is the sneakiest. The Piston Cup season structure in Cars 3 explicitly references a rookie qualification protocol when Cruz Ramirez is placed in the Florida 500. NASCAR's real rulebook requires rookie drivers to complete approval laps and receive sanctioning body sign-off before running a points race. In Cars 3, Sterling swaps Cruz in as a substitute driver under the same emergency substitution clause NASCAR used in 2013 when Brian Vickers replaced Denny Hamlin mid-season. Same procedure, same paperwork logic. Now think back to that opening race. 3 cars tied, final lap, a yellow line painted on pit road. Every piece of that scene was built from a real rulebook. A real research team spent 9 months learning. The Motor Speedway of the South wasn't a fantasy track. It was a composite of 3 real ovals, and the announcer's dialogue was written by a former MRN radio broadcaster hired specifically to get the cadence right. Bob Cutlass and Daryl Cartrip are voiced by Bob Costas and actual NASCAR broadcaster Daryl Waltrip. Waltrip was a 3-time Winston Cup champion. Pixar didn't cast him for the joke. They cast him because he could improvise commentary that matched real race timing to the second. One last detail before the credits roll. The Dynaco 400 that opens Cars 3, where Jackson Storm first embarrasses Lightning, uses a restrictor plate configuration in its animation. Watch the drafting patterns. The cars run in tight 2x2 packs, the exact aerodynamic behavior of Talladega and Daytona under restrictor plate rules NASCAR used from 1988 until 2019. Pixar animated real physics that most adult NASCAR fans wouldn't catch. The Piston Cup isn't a cartoon league. It never was. It's a shadow rulebook hiding inside a movie about a red race car who learned how to lose on purpose. Once you see it, every race scene plays differently.